Today we have a game of one-page rules, actually, and we're going to go ahead and go over a little bit about it first, and then get into a bit of a mock game for it. One-page rules fantasy. Some general rules for one-page rules. If an article is unclear or there's any questions about it, you just want to use common sense and have fun with it. Units will have basically a quality test and a defense test. Quality test, you just roll a d6, and if it's equal to or higher, then that is a success. Modifiers to the die, ones will always fail, and sixes will always succeed, no matter what, for the modifiers. We have 1,500 points here between the two lists. These are Chivalrous Knights that are set up on over there, as well as we have Beastmen over here with a unit in reserve due to the Ambushers special rule. You can combine same units into one, and you can only do that once. For example, we have over here a unit of 5 warriors that were reinforced, basically. The battlefield is typically going to be 6x4. Typically, they say any size, really, as long as you have 24 inches between the two deployment zones. We've got 15 pieces of terrain on here. They typically say 10 to 15 pieces of terrain just to make it interesting. And this is what 15 pieces typically looks like for these things. We're using the standard mission today, where you place D3 plus 2 objectives on the battlefield. I ended up rolling either a 3 or a 4, so we had 2 extra objectives marked with the runes of power on there. You roll off to place the objectives, so one person, whoever rolls the highest, will place 1, and then it will go back and forth, and I just kind of randomly threw them up there. Deployment also is a roll-off. So Chivalrous Knights won the roll-off, so they chose the side and got to place a unit down first. Placing units is alternative, so once they placed 1, the beasts placed 1, and then it continues to go back and forth until it is all complete. Very first round, the person that won the roll-off and deployed their first unit first gets to activate first. One-page rules has typically 4 rounds. You can play with an alternative where there's an unknown number of rounds, but we're just going to do 4 today. And in each round, each player will alternate picking units to activate. As they do so, they'll go ahead and either move, charge, advance, and shoot their units. Their one unit, and then the other person gets to go and do that as well. There are 4 in the basic rules. There are 4 activations that a unit can make. They can either hold and they choose not to move, but they can still shoot. They can advance and they move 6 inches, and they can all still shoot. They can rush and move 12 inches, but then they cannot shoot. And they can charge, where they move 12 inches, and they move into melee, and melee happens. In the advanced rules, there are 7 more actions that you can also pick from as well. The advanced rules cost about $5 on Drive-Thru-RPG, so it's not bad. It gives a bunch more different rule sets, as well as alternatives like command points and stuff like that allow you to do additional things. But we're just going to be doing the free version really quick. Another thing to mention is unit coherency. I've set up this one to give a showcase of what you can do. Each model has to be within 1 inch of one other model in the unit, and they all have to be within 9 inches of each other. So this, for example, is set up 9 inches from the farthest one to the other one. And with that, we'll get right on into it. Another side note too, I have not played a game of one-page rules yet. I basically read the rules, officiated a game between two of my friends once, but that's about it. This is the first time I'll be playing. Starting off the round with Chivalrous Knights, they're going to use their Chivalrous artillery and shoot on over into the Minotaurs over there. So we're going to activate them, and they've got a quality 5, and it's 36-inch range, so on a 5 up, they take a hit. They do not. We'll go on over to Beastmen to activate. Beastmen chose to activate the Warriors and chose to advance for their action, moving 7 inches as they have a banner. It gives a +1 to move. And we're off to Chivalrous Knights now. Chivalrous Knights decide to activate their unit of reinforced Longbowmen. It also has a high defender who's a caster 2. Now, spells in this game are little free, basically. They have a whole like 6 spells for their faction that every caster knows. At the beginning of the round, they end up getting X number of tokens that I'm representing right here that are used to fuel their spells, basically. They can choose to try and cast the spell as the spell has a token cost, and then on a 4 up, that spell goes off. They can choose to cast as many spells as they want, as long as they pay for the token price. Any other casters, as well as the caster itself, can also spend additional tokens to get a bonus to the roll, or enemy casters can also spend tokens to give a negative to the roll as well. So you can buff that roll to a 2 up if you spend 2 additional tokens, or the enemy caster can also make that roll a 6 up if they spend tokens as well. This round, she's just going to go ahead and hold on to those tokens. You can stack them up to 6 on a particular caster, but that's about it. So with that, and any spell needs to be triggered before the attack. So these guys are going to be shooting. She would have need to cast a spell prior to the shooting, or she would need to cast a spell prior to them hitting in melee. With that, they went ahead and shot at these hunters over here. Ended up rolling very well. They had a quality of 5, and they ended up making 7 of those rolls, only dropping 3. They also had a -1 AP. These hunters' defense is a 5 up, making it a 6 up. They ended up only rolling 1 success, killing 6 of the hunters. At this point, because they have taken damage and reduced their unit down to half, they will need to make a quality test. Their quality is a 5 up, and to see whether or not they are shaken. So we'll go ahead and roll that now. Nope, they are shaken. So we're going to put that there. Shaken units cannot capture objectives, and during their activation, they don't do anything and just become unshaken. So once they activate again, they'll have to they'll remove the shaken quality. They also fail any morale tests when shaken. And we'll move on to Beastmen's turn. Beastmen will actually go ahead and activate this unit, removing that shaken quality from them. On to Chivalrous Knights. So, rereading the rules, you cannot multi-charge units. So this unit will need to choose a unit to charge and then move up to that unit and charge it. They don't do multi-unit charges in this game. Also, in reading, I also found out, I knew that you couldn't move within 1 inch of enemy models, but that also means that you cannot move within 1 inch of friendly units as well. So while currently all of the units are outside of 1 inch, my deployments were probably wrong, because I think there were some that were probably close, a little too close. But that is good to know for future reference. And we're going to go on to the beginning of round, where casters will get their tokens, and anybody that has ambushers in reserve gets to choose whether or not they want to deploy them during this round or not. I think the Beastmen are going to keep these guys in reserve for one more round, just to make sure that, just to see how this round plays out, basically. First activation for Beastmen, they went ahead and charged their Minotaurs into these Realm Knights. They get 2 attacks each with their heavy hand weapons. The Sergeant is going to be blue. He gets a +1 to the attack, to plus the hit. And the yellow will be the Brute Boss that is in there as well, who gets 6 attacks. Quality 3, I believe, for all of these. And we'll go ahead and count it up. So these were the successes. They have Furious, meaning the 6s that were rolled gets an additional hit for each one of those. The quality on the Realm Knights is a 4 up. The regular AP for these is 2, so that would be 6s for the Realm Knights to roll there. But it's an AP of 4 for the Brute Boss, as he has a gigantic weapon, meaning that they would have a save only on 6 up as well for these as well, even though the AP goes right through their armor. So we'll roll that up, but I'm pretty sure these Realm Knights are toast. 15 dice, ended up rolling 5 6s out of it, but 10 wounds still go through. These Realm Knights are not tough, so that means they don't have additional wounds or anything like that. Each model is 1 wound, so that eliminates the unit. The Minotaurs can now move 3 inches, I believe, for their consolidation. After having a group of Realm Knights just be destroyed, we're going to have the Longbowmen go next. We're going to try to pepper this unit, kind of weaken it down a little bit. Beforehand, though, we're going to cast some spells before we attack. So we're going to be doing the hold action, and before any of the attacks, we'll cast spells from this caster. She's going to use one of her tokens to try and cast Wild Form on this unit that is within 12 inches. So on a 4 up, that goes off. And it does not, so that will not work. And then we've got another spell that she's going to try and do called Protection. It takes 2, but she's also going to use 1 to get a +1 to this. So on a 3 up, she will cast Protection. And that is a 6. So that does work. She goes ahead and picks 2 units within 12 inches of her, and they get +1 to defense rolls. Next time they take hits. So we're going to use them, obviously, and this unit over here. With that, we're going to go into shooting from them into that unit over there. Beastman's activation, they chose to activate the Hunters here, charging on into the Knights Errant. This is going to be quality 5, +1 for the Sergeant. So quality 4 for him, and +5 for the rest. So we'll see how these attacks go. Making 1 of them, it looks like. Two of them. The Knights Errant have a quality of a defense of 5s as well. So we'll see how that goes. Making 1, failing 1. They will take 1 wound, 1 of them dying. We're going to pick this guy here. With that, it is whether or not the Errants want to attack back. In this game, if the Errants do choose to attack back, they will become fatigued, which is also what those Beastmen are, the Minotaurs are right now. They are also fatigued, as they already fought this phase. Being fatigued in melee, you hit on 6s for everything. every subsequent fight after that. So if these guys were going to be charged by perhaps those Pegasus Knights, then they will be only attacking back on 6s at that point. So we've got a choice to make with these Knights. If they don't choose to do so, they will be losing in melee at this point because they have taken 1 wound. But if they do attack back, then when they attack on the charge during their activation, they will be only hitting on 6s at that point. They do some pretty decent damage on the charge. We might want to just chance it. It will be a 50-50 chance for them not to be shaken, as they have taken 1 casualty and they have a 5-up quality +1 for the banner. So that will be a 4-up to see if they aren't shaken or not, with a potential better charge the next during their activation. You know what? We'll go ahead and chance it on a 4-up. They will not go ahead and charge back, so the hunters automatically win combat, and we're going to go ahead and see if they are shaken. They are not. Thank goodness, that was a close one. Because both sides are still around, the charging unit goes ahead and pulls back 1 inch and is set up right there, and they will be fatigued. All right, so we chose to go ahead and activate the man-at-arms unit with the hero. They charged on in to this big hulking brute. Because of the way whether or not you're in range for attacks is based off of whether or not you're in base combat, as well as 2 inches from that unit's models. Because these guys are on 25mm bases, that means they can attack up to 3 flanks deep to be within 2 inches. So all of them will be attacking. It is the Brute Giant's turn after taking 6 wounds. He is tough 12, so he's halfway there. But with that, he does have 4 stomp attacks, being yellow, and 10 dual hand weapon attacks, which are going to be green. Before that, though, he does have Devour. So you roll a die, and on a 6-up, they would have taken 1 wound. At the end of this combat, we have 3 dead men-at-arms with a Brute Giant who took 6 wounds. The Brute Giant does have Fear 2, which means it counts as dealing an extra 2 wounds to the other unit when determining who won melee. So unfortunately, with the 3 plus the 2, that's 5. He's still taken 6, meaning the Brute Giant did lose this combat. We're going to roll a quality test for morale on a 3-up. If he fails, he does not. So he is not shaken. He is fine. But if he did fail, because he is at more than half life gone, he would have routed. So that was a big one there if he did not pass that. We'll go ahead and move the men-at-arms 1 inch away from the Brute Giant, and it will be Beast activation. Well, Beastman's turn, and he could either choose to activate that unit of the warriors, the giant brute, or this unit over here, the hunters. But we'll decide to go just charge right back on in. Let's do it. He has Devour, so we can on a 6-up. They just take a mortal, or they just take a wound, but they don't. So he has 10 attacks still, 4 attacks for Stomp, and a quality of 3+. Of course, quality doesn't matter here because he is fatigued, so we're just looking for 6s. He does have Furious, so because he charged, those 6s become 2 additional hits. So that'll be 4 hits total, and the quality of the other unit is going to be 4-up, or the defense is going to be 4s because of the spell that she cast earlier. Although, let me look that up because it might have just been the next one. The wording of that spell is the next time they take hits. So I'm going to assume that it goes away after the first time. So that will be 5s for the defense now for these guys because there's no AP. With 3 more dead guard. Striking back, we're going to be hitting on 6s because they are also fatigued. The sergeant with the +1 to hit doesn't matter because it's unmodified rolls of 6s that matter only in the combat when you're fatigued. And we've got 3 attacks from the high defender that's in there as well. So quality of 4 for all of these, or quality 4, but it doesn't matter because we're just looking for 6s for all of this anyway. With 1, 2 6s. So the Rending is AP -4, so that's going to be a 6. And then the hero's attack is AP 1, so that would be a 4. So a 4 and a 6. Nope, failed them both. So that will be another 2 wounds from him, having him dealt 8 total wounds to him so far. With that, we're going to see who won combat. They dealt 2 wounds to him, and the brute was able to deal 3 wounds to them, meaning that he just automatically wins, as well as his fearless puts him in another 2, so 5 to 2. The brute wins. The other unit needs to take a morale test, quality of 4. We'll see if that rolls. +1 from the banner, I believe. Let me check. Yep, +1 from the banner means that they did, in fact, succeed it. Again, if they failed, because they haven't lost more or up to half of their units yet, half of the unit yet, they would have just been shaken. But at this point, they are not because they succeeded. So the Pegasus Knights decided to go ahead and do their charge after Beastmen decided to activate this unit and move him, advance them a little bit on up there to get within 3 inches of that objective. The Pegasus Knights were then activated and charged on the Minotaurs. They got there, and then the Minotaurs had to move 3 inches in closer towards them. And now we're going to go ahead and do their impact hits. Pegasus Knights have impact 2. I had to look it up. That is per model. So 6 attacks here with impact. And they say it is for each 2+, the target takes 1 hit. They also have Joust, meaning these impacts are AP -1. So we'll go ahead and on a 2-up. These attacks do need to have the unit not be fatigued. So if they fought previously and then charged on in, they wouldn't get these. For at -1, defense of 3 for the Minotaurs, meaning they're going to take 1 additional hit. That will remove that 1 guy here before combat even starts. With that, we'll move on to combat for the Pegasus Knights. One thing to note with this as well, for charging, they just need a path to that unit within range and make sure it will get within base contact, but it does not require line of sight. So even if these guys were fully behind this pillar here, it wouldn't have mattered. They still would have been able to charge because they don't need line of sight to charge. Now, with determining who won combat, the impact hits, the Pegasus Knights dealt 3. The Brutes dealt 3 back. So I don't know if impact hits count towards the melee or not. I haven't found anything online saying yes or no. I'm going to count them just because they are hits. The way it's read, from my mind, it seems like it does count towards the melee hits. So we're going to count it towards overall winning combat as well. Just makes it easier, I guess, in my mind, to just count it in. With that, it is a tie. Nobody takes any morale tests, and the Pegasus Knights move back 1 inch, if possible, from the Brutes. This one lone warrior with the banner fighting all these knights. 2 attacks, quality of 4, making 1. No AP, defense of 4 on the knights. They make it. With that, the knights obviously win combat, so we're going to have to make a quality save on this. 4 up normally, +1 for the banner, so 3 up. He fails. More than half the unit's dead, so it is routed. He runs away with his tail between his legs. With that unit gone, the Beastmen do not have any other units to activate, so we just go ahead and activate the rest of the Chivalrous Knights, Chivalrous Kingdoms ones. Men-at-Arms rushed on up to there, trying to blockade some of that stuff, worried about that ambush. Of course, if they chose to come over here and just charge right on in, that would be that would hurt as well. And then the only other unit that needed to be activated was this one on over here. So round 3, Beastmen decide to bring in their ambusher unit, setting them up 9 inches away from a juicy Realm Knights unit, hoping that in the end they'll be able to secure at least 3 objectives, and needing the extra reinforcements on over here to try and sweep them up. It is Beast's activation first, since they finished first last round. And we will decide to go with this unit here, the ones that come from ambush. They're gonna go ahead and charge, going 12 inches right into that unit over there. All right, for the Chivalrous Kingdoms, we're gonna choose to activate the Pegasus Knights. They have fly. And in the rules, it says that they can ignore obstacles when moving, as well as being able to fly over terrain, impassable terrain. It doesn't say anything about models. I tried to look it up online. I assume that models are obstacles, so I'm assuming that they can fly on over them. Let me know if I've got that wrong. Otherwise, that kind of makes sense to me. That fly can do that. With that, they've got impact hits of 2 each, so that's 4 2-ups on these guys, dropping 1. They are defense 5, so with Joust, giving them an AP -1 on the impacts, that's going to be 6s. Killing 3. They've got 1 guy left there. Lances are going to be quality 4. So we're going to roll for that. Yep, making 1. And then with Lance, it's an AP2, so on 6 up. Nope, that's the unit wiped for them right here. Pegasus Knights can now consolidate 3 inches, and I'll probably move them right on over that way a little bit as well. In thinking about round 4 later, the Beastmen decide to go ahead and shoot over here. Consolidating 3 inches towards this objective over here. The Beasts have ended their activations. They have nothing else left to activate. That leaves 3 more units for the Chivalrous Knights to activate. I'll just go ahead and do each of those and let you know what the result is. The only thing that might be interesting is this one over here. Debating upon whether or not I should charge these guys into here or not. They will probably die, knowing how things have come up before. But we'll see. Maybe we'll, just to try it out, see how that goes. We still have those catapult or artillery over there to shoot, which will probably be going into the Bulgors. They don't need line of sight. It's indirect fire. I'll have to measure that out. Might be a little too far out. And then these guys will probably be holding when I removed the Brute here, I shuffled these guys on over outside of 12 of these guys, the Men-at-Arms, because I would have had them make sure that they stayed outside of charge range if that Brute wasn't there in the first place. So, with that, these guys will probably either advance or hold. They have this objective here. I've got to reread when you gain the objective, but a unit can contest one if it's within 3 inches. It is at the end of the round is when it's determined. If you have units nearby within 3 inches of the objective, at the end of the round, you gain it. If both sides have units next to it within 3 inches, you don't gain it. All right, crazy for me because I don't know why I did this, but the men-at-arms went ahead and charged these elites. They don't have a sergeant. They don't have a banner. They don't have a musician person, so they're just going on gumption. Their quality is 5. Let's see how terrible they are. With Rending, they need a bunch of 6s. They've got 1 and 1 additional hit. Oh boy. Rending will give them an AP -1. So on a 4-up, the elites are saved on that. No, kills an elite. And on a 3-up, they're saved for the regular one. They ended up killing 2 of the elites. Let's go! The elites, though, will be fighting back. They're going to be killing the 2 in the back. Blah, blah, because they couldn't reach anyway. The rest of them, they've got the Lord in there with 3 attacks, the Sergeant, as well as 6 other guys in these elites. They are fatigued, so all of them are hitting on 6s. Their AP is -3, though, so as long as they get some, they're going to be killing some guys. Let's see. Making 1. Interesting. With that 1, we've got a 6-up save on these guys. On the men-at-arms, 6-up defense. Nope, one of the men-at-arms perishes. But with 2 beast guys dead, the elite's dead, that means that they're going to be having a leadership quality test for morale on the beast guys. Otherwise, they're going to be shaken. On a 3-up with +1 for the banner is on a 2-up, so they should be perfectly fine. Holy crow. Well, they're shaken. That was awfully brave of those men-at-arms. Holy crow. Next turn, they will not be able to, when they activate, they can't move. They will just have to activate and stop being shaken. They're outside of 3, 2 of this objective. Well, no, that one guy is. So, we'll see how next turn goes. We've got the boulder thrower to still shoot. He'll probably shoot into there. Why not? But weaken him up a little, maybe. The artillery could also shoot into these big guys as well. And we'll resolve that really quick and move on to round 4. All right, end of the match. We've got a tied game. This objective was taken a little while back by the Chivalrous Knights. This one is contested by the elites who have 2 models just within range. And these guys as well are well within 3 inches. So that objective is contested. Nobody has it at the end of the round 4. This objective is also contested, even though it was held by the Chivalrous Kingdoms. Because the Brutes are there now and the Chivalrous Kingdoms are there, that's going to be a contested objective. And they will be... so nobody has that one. And then because of these guys' epic quality test for not being shaken, they will control that one as well. The beasts will control this one. So that'll be one objective for them, one objective for them. And I believe that is going to be a tied game with the default standard mission. In summary, I like it. It's kind of fast-paced. Once you get the rules down pretty well, the back and forth is pretty interesting, kind of like a game of chess, where each person moves one of their pieces each time. I like that. I don't know if I would take reinforced blocks again, even of this unit, the Minotaurs, just because I think having that separate unit that you could use would be really nice. Same thing with the elites. The only reason why I would probably reinforce them would be because of the leader joined the unit, gave him ambusher, and having a bigger blob might be better for that. The warriors that I had were also reinforced. I don't think I would reinforce them again. I would just have them in 2 groups of 5, because then if one group was charged, then they would just die as opposed to the whole thing being wiped. So I don't think you'd want to reinforce all the time. With the Force Org stuff, that's optional. I like using it, but it does limit you to the number of units that you can have in your army based on the points. So if you're getting a bunch of cheap units and you have a bunch of points left over, then obviously you're going to want to reinforce them. But otherwise, I don't. Once you cap out, I would cap out the units first before doing that. What else did I want to touch on? Combat, having it move out of combat and not being able to lock somebody in or tie them down was a little wonky for me at first. But in doing this, it definitely, it avoids a tar pit. And if you position, it becomes more of a positioning game. So if you position a big block unit and stretch it out and let the other person charge you a bunch while trying to flank them, I think I like it. Plus, it gives you the opportunity to, like we saw with the Knights, potentially not fight back and then wait for a better charge. I don't know. It's interesting. It's different. And not having that tar pit and it's more positioning in the end instead of just locking somebody down in combat. What else? Shooting. For most of the profiles for shooting in Age of Fantasy, I think they were all like quality 5, which I do like. I mean, it should be tough to hit somebody with a weapon at range, so I kind of like that. It doesn't make it into like a shooting meta in a fantasy realm. I would rather have it be a bunch of melee soldiers just duking it out. They also have a regiment style one as well, and I would like to try that out. But going back to list customizations, there's a bunch of different customizations in the list. There's a lot of different things that you can give your heroes. I like that. I like the list building in that aspect, where there's a bunch of different options that you can choose for your lists and different points associated for those options. One of those options was Lord's Virtue that I put on this foot hero here that gave that whole squad quality 4 instead of quality 5, which I thought was pretty cool. I mean, it was costly, but it was really nice. So I do like that piece as well. Anyway, thanks for watching.